less common now, but when I started doing strength and conditioning for jiu-jitsu guys 15 years ago, most of them had no strength training background.
Right.
So even though, like, let's say the gentleman right behind me in that photo, Felipe de la Monica, is our head professor at Gracie Baja headquarters in Irvine. He's 38 and has been training jiu-jitsu since he was 10. So I've known him for 15 years. So he was 23. So even at that point, he'd been training for 13 years. He'd been a black belt for, maybe 2 or 3 years. If he had spent all of his time up to that point just doing jiu-jitsu and zero strength training, then yeah, the beginner gains phase of strength training is going to give him pretty good performance returns on the mat. But because he's at that beginner gains phase, it's probably not necessary to like, oh, we're going to dedicate. If you've never done it before, then yeah, lifting 2 or 3 times a week in just a well-structured, like sensibly structured program. It doesn't have to be anything fancy or exotic, and most good programs aren't something fancy or exotic, but they're going to get a huge return from that. So they might have to understand with that, at least early on in it, all right, you're going to be really sore, the first week, 2 weeks. It might detract a little bit of your energy from jiu-jitsu, but ultimately the higher qualified any athlete is, the less return they're going to get from general training. So if they're black belt, finalists at Jiu-Jitsu Worlds at adult, even if they've never lifted before, if they've made it to that point without it at all,
Right.
like, yeah, it's going to improve a little bit, but it's very rarely like the difference.
Right.
Like even between good and bad, and like good strength training and bad strength training. And I get that I'm like working against my own profession in this. And because it matters that you do something, but until you're getting into the realm of like way overtraining or doing exercises that are completely inappropriate to develop force production, the things kind of on the fringes of it, most of the training in the middle, it's like, all right, yeah, that helps. It could be a little bit more helpful, but one of my best friends is named Dustin Perry. He's the head strength coach for the 49ers. And, we joke a lot of times that, he'll sit down and he's writing these really intricate detail plans for in season and off season for these guys. And then at the end of it, we're doing like consulting stuff, and it's like, oh yeah, but it doesn't really matter because it's
Right.
like, well, if they squat, 4 sets of 5, are they going to win the Super Bowl? And but if they only did 3 sets of 5, will they not win? Kind of thing. Like strength coaches, they, I'm passionate about strength training. I've spent the last 25 years of my life involved with this as probably my primary pursuit.
Mm-hmm.
So they want to think that it's the most important thing to the athlete's success. But I did an interview with Cub Swanson recently, and he asked me about MMA, strength and conditioning role in MMA, and I told him, I was like, I know that I'm the least important coach that they have, and
Right.
if more strength coaches understood that, whether it's for MMA or for jiu-jitsu or for football or whatever, that they're there to complement, to support everything else around it, but it's not to be the star. Look how much my guy bench presses, and now he's going to be good at his sport. Because if that's what they spent most of their energy doing, unless they're powerlifters, they're probably not, deriving much direct improvement from that.
I think that is definitely the error of the new trainer, is thinking that your thing is the most important thing in someone's life, when really it should be a tool utilized to help mitigate injury to the best degree that you can, and then make sure that the athletes are actually out doing the thing that they're getting paid to do, or that they hope to one day get paid to do. Because if you're not practicing the sport, you're not going to get better at it.